Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Inman, and I'm reading Full of Beans, and it is chapter 12, Dueling with Dot. And when you think about a duel, you think like a battle or some type of fight. So I don't know what's going to happen with, Dot, who wants to play marbles, and of course, these boys, their gang, which is really like their friendship club, okay? They do not want girls to play marbles. Well, let's find out what happens here. Dueling with Dot. In the pictures, it seemed so easy to settle fights. Just have a duel. 2 swords, some fancy footwork, a clear winner. In real life, it wasn't as simple, especially when girls were involved. My duel with Dot started over pineapple. There was a factory on Eaton that canned pineapple from Cuba. Shipments of pineapple arrived at odd times, and they were always cause for celebration for us kids. Because when the workers processed the pineapple, they discarded the cores in a huge pile behind the factory. There's nothing sweeter than a fresh pineapple core on a hot day. I was sitting on our front porch when Porkchop rode up on his bike. "You hear the news?" he asked me. "Hear what?" "Mammy is really angry," Porkchop exclaimed. "The kingfish wants to ban Bolita." That's what folks were calling Mr. Stone, the kingfish of Key West, because he is so bossy. "Why would he ban Bolita?" My best pal made a face. "Says gambling ain't good for getting tourists." Well, that didn't make any sense. Everybody loved to gamble as far as I could tell. Key West's best business were gambling and liquor. "Did you go to Eaton Street this morning?" I asked him. "Pineapple ain't in yet," I said, and he patted his back pocket. "I got to go deliver these Bolita numbers for Mammy now. She don't want Mr. Stone showing up in our kitchen." I was still sitting on the porch when lunchtime rolled around. A couple of kids were whizzing down Francis on bikes. Dot was one of the kids. She slowed as she passed me. "Where's everybody going?" "Pineapple," I said. "Big marble tournament," she said. "Why? You want to play me?" "Course not. Keepsies don't play girls." "Have it your way," she said, and she pedaled off. The next morning, Kermit and me went to Porkchop's house, and the gang was already there. "Any word on that pineapple?" I asked Porkchop. He looked confused. "What are you talking about?" "When's it coming in?" "Well, it came in yesterday, about noon." "What?" I demanded. "I figured you'd heard. Every single kid in town was down there." Realization dawned on me. "She tricked me," I said slowly. "Who tricked you?" Ira asked. "Dot. I saw her on her bicycle and she swore that pineapple hadn't come in." Porkchop gave me a look. "And you believed her?" I shook my head in dismay. Dot had winkied me. Ma came home carrying 2 cans and a couple of brushes. "What's that, Ma?" I asked. "Paint for the new dealers," she replied. I lifted the lid. The paint was pink. "Really, Ma?" I asked. "Beggars can't be choosers. I wanted green, but it was all taken." She went inside, and I sat there on the front porch staring at that pink paint. Then I slowly grinned. "You guys see it," Porkchop exclaimed. Ira hot on his heels. "See what?" I asked. "Just come," Ira said. Porkchop smirked. "It's the most hilarious thing you've ever seen, brother." We went behind a house on Love Lane and peered in the backyard. "Look," Porkchop said. Painted on an old outhouse was Queen Dot's throne. You want to see that? In pink paint. Uh-oh. There was even a little pink crown. Porkchop chortled. "Isn't that a riot, pal?" "It's a regular work of art," Ira said. I had to agree. The artist had talent. Queen Dot's throne started showing up on outhouses all around town. Nobody knew who was doing it. Rumor was that the mysterious painter struck in the dark of night, like the mysterious shadow on the radio show. Me and the gang were playing marbles in front of the house when Dot came storming up. She was spitting like a cat. "I know it's you," she shouted. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said, all innocent-like. "You're the only one who's painting Queen Dot's thrones on outhouses." I looked at the fellas and as if I was shocked. "It ain't me. It's probably one of them new dealer artists." "It is so you Freckles over on Pender Lane saw you slipping out of a backyard with a paintbrush. I held up my hands. You see any paint on these hands? Must have been someone else. I've just got a familiar face. She shook with rage and then whirled around and marched away. And we all burst out laughing. A few days later, the gang and I were knee-deep in dirt, playing a game of marbles when a barefoot girl with pigtails came running up. Beans, Curry, she said, your mama's been hollering for you for the last half hour. I didn't hear her, I said, and it was the truth. The girl put her hands on her hips. She cocked her head. Well, she said, you better get your hiney down to the crawls, pick up some turtle meat on credit, or you ain't going to have no supper. Then she turned and ran off. I stood up. Guess I better go, fellas. Can I stay here? I don't want to do chores, Kermit whined. Fine, I'll pick you up after. I went down to the crawls as fast as my legs could carry me. When Mama hollered, you ran. There was a little shack at the edge where you could put in your order. An older man stood behind a wooden counter. Hi, Mr. Thompson, I said. Ma sent me down here to get some meat on credit. Sure thing, Beans. Give me a few minutes. I'll butcher some meat for you. I'll wait outside, I told him. I kind of like the turtles. I really didn't want to see one chopped up. I sat near the turtle crawls, peering down into the water. The big creatures were swimming lazily, their shells appearing and then disappearing beneath the dark surface. And I felt someone push me. Before I could see who it was, I found myself flying through the air. I landed in the water and sank. When I came up, I was gasping for air. The turtles were bumping into me on every side. Now I know how it felt to be tossed into the crawls. Terrible. I heard laughter and I looked up, and Dot was grinning down at me. You look like a turned turtle, she hooted. Staying next to her was that girl with pigtails. You, I spit out. Did my mother even call for me? She pretended to think hard for a moment. She said. Boys sure are easy to fool. You said it, Dot agreed. Oh, how I hated that girl. Come to think of it, I hated both of them. So now, we're going to be on chapter 13, Dog Days. Well, Beans never has a boring day, does he? See you next chapter. Here are some pink houses like the ones that they had at Key West.